Greetings and welcome back to the channel. The narcissist is a plague on society. That's plain and simple what they really are. The reason I'm saying this is think about how much we pedestalize these people. How much we thought, or maybe some of you still do think, of that person as being irreplaceable. You just can't imagine your life without them. Oh what would you do without the narcissist in your life? We'd be so lonely and we wouldn't have anybody. And guys, this is part of that spell. It truly is, and we've all been through it. Just think of it this way: the idea that any human being can convince us that they're the only person on the earth, on God's green earth, the whole globe, that's the right person for us. And we felt that way. I don't even mean the right person. I want to go a step further. That, like I said, there's no one else you can find that could ever match them. They are literally the premier person on the face of the planet. They convince us as that. And that's a spell. That is straight up witchcraft. That is demonic. That is not natural because have you ever felt that way about anybody else? Have you ever thought, oh, well, they're the only person on earth that I could be with? We pedestalize these people so much. We think they are infinitely better than they really are. When in reality, they're a plague on society. They're a scourge on the earth. So we pedestalize them, but what are they really? So think about this. They're the kind of people that terrorize every single person they're ever with. I don't just mean, as they'll tell you, you're a bad partner. You're a bad partner. No, no, no. I don't mean they're a bad partner. I don't mean they don't show up consistently. I don't just mean they're not there for you. I don't mean that they're just a bad person. Meaning they're kind of inconsistent. You don't quite know what to expect. They're not overly good to you. They're kind of crummy. That's not a narcissist. Go back and see my video, the difference between a bad person and a narcissist, because it's profound. It's profound. I'm trying to say these people absolutely flat out terrorize everybody they're with. They are like a cyclone, a whirlwind of destruction and carnage and evil, and you get sucked into that for a period of time and you just get banged around, man. It's like I said, it's that cage match with demons. You thought you were walking into a healthy relationship, and you were walking in blindfolded into a cage match with about 50 different demons who are just going to have their way with you. Clink, boom, bat crash, boom, slam. That's what it is to be with them. It's not just a little bit bad. It is the stuff of nightmares. It's stuff you couldn't dream of. They say the cruelest things. They do the cruelest things. They are absolutely the most mean-spirited people on earth. And this is what I've said numerous times lately, and I think it bears repeating. There are all sorts of different personality disorders and styles and all that we talk about psychologically, in psychological terms. Now, they're all rooted in spiritual ways. People are corrupt because they're spiritually corrupt. But there's shades and differences. The narcissist, not avoidance, not people who are anxiety ridden, not codependence, not anxious attachment, whatever. The narcissist is the one who comes simply for the purpose of destroying intentionally, to inflict damage on purpose for the sake of doing it. They like it, they enjoy it. I love when people talk because I just think it's funny. They talk about duper's delight. It cracks me up every time I hear it. What is duper's delight? It's when they get that smirk, that grin, when they're sitting next to you doing something they know they shouldn't be doing. Or when you point something out to them that they know is absurd and they just get this grin like, that's duper's delight. Meaning they are satisfied that they are getting one over on you. That fills them up. That's demonic. They enjoy inflicting pain. They are the weeds among the wheat. They are the chaos makers. These people are absolutely the worst individuals on earth to be with, and they terrorize everybody they're with, every romantic partner. Thoroughly, they blow up the balloon till it burst. They push it. They push the boundaries until you go over the edge. And they will do this to every single person they're ever with, except for, unfortunately, some people. I'm not even going to say glutton for punishment. I don't know what exactly happens, but there are people who spend their entire lives trapped with these people. For whatever reason, they're so weak that they literally don't ever wake up and they don't ever think they can do better. And guys, that is a tragedy. That is someone who wasted their entire life on the likes of one wicked person. So, yeah, they're a plague on society. How about this? And this is incalculable, the damage that this does. Bad parenting absolutely destroys people, destroys families, destroys cultures. And we see that more than probably ever today. They are the world's worst parents. They might even laugh about this. They might even scoff or think it's funny. They might wear a shirt that literally says, "World's okayest mom." Yeah, the narcissist I was with had a shirt that said, "World's okayest mom." And what I came to find out was it wasn't even funny really to her. It was genuinely the truth. She almost reveled in the fact that she was a bad mother, terrible mother to her child, as it turns out. And they all are. If anyone tries to tell you, because I've had people do this, they'll talk about an ex and they'll say that this person's a narcissist and they're just horrible and they're so awful. Textbook narcissist. And then you come to find out that parent is actually doing all the parenting. They have the child 5, 6 days of the week. They're doing all the heavy lifting. And that tells you something. It tells you that's not a narcissist. In fact, the person casting the aspersion, that's a narcissist. Because there's no such thing as a narcissist who is a good parent. They're not there for their kids. They don't teach them any values. Their life comes first every time. Whatever relationship they want to be in, if they want to pick up and move, take the child out of school, shack up with this person, shack up with that person, move partners, change partners, will do all of this stuff. Anything that they want to do without regard to that child at all. That child comes dead last to the narcissist's needs at every turn. And they will pawn them off and they won't do any of the heavy lifting and they won't deal with them when they're sick or going through issues or problems because they don't do any heavy lifting. They don't do any work. That's kryptonite to a narcissist. Accountability, responsibility, helping those in need, unless it's for show just to be the communal narcissist for a while. They're the worst parents. They turn their kids into narcissists themselves. Oftentimes they'll take one that's a scapegoat or a couple. They'll take one that's going to be the mini me golden child and they'll turn them into themselves so that the world gets to see their nightmare all over again through that child. So they make more narcs. They turn their children into codependents who must rely upon them. And they grow up usually to end up in relationships with narcissists because codependents end up with narcissists lots of the time. And the guy's a bad codependent, someone who's deeply, deeply codependent can be as difficult to deal with as a narcissist. Not because they're trying to be so wicked. They're not. They're just helpless, annoying, frustrating. They turn their children into avoidance, which basically in this case I just mean they cannot attach to someone. They're scared to death. They'll build something up in a relationship and then it's deathly afraid to attach to anybody. Can't even go on a date, can't even hardly meet up with you because they're that afraid. These are the things that the narcissist does to their kids. It's not just that they're absentee parents or that they're poor parents. It's that they're so bad that they go the extra step of turning their children into nightmarish monsters that just perpetuate the cycle. So, yeah, the narcissist is a plague on society. Literally, that kind of atrocious parenting is what probably is chiefly responsible for all the demise of culture and every culture throughout history, including the one we see today, which Basically, we're living in Babylon, we're living in Rome 2.0. The last days culture, if you ask me. How about as friends? So they're terrible parents, they're terrible relationship partners. Maybe you can be friends with them. Nah. Nope. Try it. Try to be friends with a narcissist. And you know what you're going to have? The best case scenario is you have someone who has very, very little to do with your life and just kind of pokes their head in every once in a while. Just kind of wants to see if you're there a little bit. Do a little something sometimes, call you maybe once in a while, text a little bit. That's the best case scenario. Because if you get any deeper with them, it's going to be a nightmare. It's not nearly as bad as a relationship with a narcissist because you don't have that deep, you don't have all the feelings, emotions, and time and intimacy that you have in a friendship, but like that you have in a romantic relationship. You don't get that in a friendship, but it's still really bad. I've seen it. I've seen people that get pretty deeply trauma bonded. They become a nervous wreck. They plan their life, their days around the narcissist. They expect the worst all the time. They're waiting for that string of texts that put them on their heels. They're waiting to be nitpicked. I've seen friendships with narcissists where they schedule a girls' night to hang out with their supposed friend, and instead it ends up being this hostile encounter where they show up at their house and grill them all night for what a terrible friend they are. These are the things the narcissist will regularly do. They put you in a minor spell. It's a minor trauma bond. They're not there for you. They're not reliable. There's no consistency. You never know what to expect in a friendship with a narcissist. Like I said, they'll just poke their heads in every once in a while, act like they want to be your friend, then they'll just leave you on red. Get a conversation going for 2 seconds and then they're gone. Act like something's going to come out of it. Make plans that they're going to break. And if they don't break them, they're going to make that plan a living nightmare. They are awful friends. They're completely incapable of doing it. So if you think to yourself, well, it didn't work, this relationship didn't work, but maybe we'll just become friends. Think again. Think again, because they're not going to let you. They won't let anybody close enough. They won't open up. They won't be vulnerable with anyone, not even a friend. At best, you're going to be there as some kind of ancillary supply source that they can go to whenever they just really need it. That's about it. So they're terrible parents, they're terrible romantic partners, they're terrible and abysmal friends. And here's the biggest thing that you got to keep in mind. I think this is the biggest one because it's so far reaching. You want to talk about how to become a plague on society, the weeds among the wheat, the dregs. Here's maybe the biggest way they do it. They flat out waste everyone's time that they ever interact with. That might not sound that severe. Think again. When I say that they waste every single person's time, I literally mean everyone in the world that ever interacts with that narcissist, even for a moment, even for a second, has had their time wasted. That is time wasted. There's no such thing as productivity with a narcissist ever. Whatever you give to them, second, minute, a day, a year, a decade, that's all gone. That's all wasted. It was completely unproductive. It did nothing for you at all. And here is the most shocking thing. Wrap your mind around this one. One narcissist in their lifetime will waste countless lifetimes of others. Think about that again. Let me restate this. The narc has one life, right? One life to live. And during that one single life they have, they will waste countless lives. You might be saying, well, Brian, how in the world do they do that? They've got one life, but they're wasting countless lives. Here's how they do it. Because the narcissist, the one single person, has claws out and tendrils out in all directions and have a lot of different people on the hook at any given time. Think about how many acquaintances, so-called friends, romantic partners, main supplies, backup supplies, tertiary supplies, backups for backups, how many people they are talking to on each dating app, how many people are in their phone, how many little phantom texts, how many people are they leading on and breadcrumbing all at one time. Trust and believe in today's society with dating apps and text messaging and social media and Snapchat and all that stuff, these narcissists are wasting so many people's lives all at one time. See, yeah, we think about the fact that, well, they're just wasting the person's time that they're in a relationship with. And that is the worst. That main supply source, whatever people want to call it. Yeah, that person is literally having their entire life wasted. All of it. They're unproductive. They're getting nowhere. They're going backwards. Everything is downhill when you're with them. So the main supply is literally losing their whole life while they're with the narcissist. But everyone else is losing bits and pieces of their lives. And think about how many that is in a lifetime. Imagine the narcissist has kids. They're wasting their lives. Every romantic partner, completely wasting their life. Everybody they're talking with on a dating app, on Snapchat, on texting, on Messenger, on everything, that every little person they're breadcrumbing at any given time, which throughout the course of their lives, guys, that could be hundreds or thousands today. People who thought they were building something up, who were putting in time, putting in effort, a week, a month, 2 months, 5 months, 6 months, all to get zero ROI. They wasted every last bit of that time. You want to talk about a plague on society? Guys, really stop and consider what I'm saying. It only takes one of these monsters to literally devour countless people's time and lives on the process. So what else do they do? There's only one more thing I want to mention for this. Two more things, actually. They drive people to an early grave. Oh, yes, they do. Not always, thankfully, but oftentimes they do. I know people who have unalived themselves because of narcissistic abuse. Not just a wasted life, but they took their own life. They're not here anymore because of the abuse is that bad. It's that toxic. If you got out and you're safe, consider yourself one of the lucky ones. I do. Blessed. You didn't allow them to destroy your whole life, but they do drive people to the grave. And worse yet, because yeah, there's something worse than that. What is it? Well, there's the first death, and then there's a little something called the second death. Yes, if they really get exactly what they want, so if they caused you to unalive yourself, then they also probably did this. But maybe you just stuck in it your whole life or way too long, and they still brought this about, which is you having to suffer the second death. In other words, you losing your salvation, you losing your everlasting life. They put you, if you're on the narrow path, they can very easily throughout time take you over to the broad path. The narrow path is small, the gate is small, the path is narrow, few will find it, and they specialize in taking people from that path onto the broad one. The broad path is the one that leads to destruction. That's the one most of the world is on. That's the one the narcissist is on. And so yes, what greater damage could there be than for someone to literally steal your everlasting life? And it's not just that you lose. This is something people don't understand oftentimes. It's not just that you lost the kingdom of God. You lost the resurrection with new heaven, new earth, life with Christ. It's not just that you lost that, because that would be bad enough, wouldn't it? But you don't disappear if you don't have that. No, instead, you get sentenced to Gehenna, the place where there's weeping, gnashing of teeth, the lake of fire, the place prepared for Satan and his demons. So yeah, if you're not going to live with Christ in his kingdom forever, you are going to live in hell. Wake up call. These people will ruin your life. If you're still associated with them, if you're still in that entrapment, you better get out because you literally can lose everything and far more than you even understand. So, in conclusion, it's not enough to say that the narcissist offers nothing. It's not enough to say they're useless. It's worse than that. They not only don't add anything to society, they do nothing but destroy the way the devil does. They are a plague on society in the worst possible way. And guys, everything I just said doesn't even do it justice. It's way worse than words can even describe. So, yeah, stay away from these people. Consider yourself blessed and fortunate if you're out. And if you're not, you better do it. You better get out. I don't care what you think it's going to cost you, because staying in it will cost you a whole lot more. So, guys, I hope this message resonates with you. Please drop comments below. Hope you guys have a great Memorial Day. And I will come at you with another one here soon. Until then, God bless.